It's been interesting to catalog the reputational damage that Season 4 has done for The Boys, once touted as being one of the best superhero pieces of media regardless of the medium. But now here we are, approaching the conclusion of the 4th season, and well, the controversy, it was percolating right at the beginning when he had stupid-ass Eric Kripke come out and say, well, if you don't like it, you don't have to watch it. And then with the fans, the clingers-ons, the shills continuing to parrot, well, if you don't like it, you're just mad because it's making fun of you. And I'm somebody from the outside looking in, just hearing some reviews and never once being enticed to watch this whole, oh wow, cool, we got a bad Superman, and oh wow, we're gonna go ahead and deconstruct things. At a point in time where literally nihilism and dark takes on everything were ruling everything. It's like, yeah, okay, cool. I understand that, hey, maybe it's gonna have its audience. Okay, people still aren't tired of all this crap after seeing Zack Snyder's take on Superman, where all he does is just cry and yell and say that Krypton had its chance and snapping Zod's neck. Who actually cares at this point in time? But no, if you liked it, that's totally fine. And if you couldn't see the writing on the wall, even from season 2, I don't know what to tell you. Hold fast and true to season 1, but everything else after that, you're going to be going through kind of a retroactive reassessment of the series and go, wow, not too dissimilar to that of what's happening with The Mandalorian, where, hey guys, outside of the first season, it's kind of always been ass, but now we're starting to see that turn. Where you've got Forbes saying that Gen V is now officially better than The Boys. Where you've got Rotten Tomatoes with an audience score at 52%. But hey, the critics still love it, and that's all that matters, right? Whenever you look at these aggregate sites, it doesn't matter what the plebs have to say about it. It is what the exalted class has to proselytize to you and ne'er-do-wells. If they like it, that means it's good, right? 100%. And that is, of course, not to say that people aren't still watching it. It's just, I seem to recall at the time, and especially now that we're deeper into the series, now that it has become more ingrained in the zeitgeist, would you think it would be higher up on those lists? These are the Illuminate ratings, okay? The most accurate or most verbose, for lack of a better term, ratings for the streamers that are out there. Is at least it's what Variety goes with, okay? We need to appeal to authority, but it coming in 7th place behind, honestly, outside of just talking about Bridgerton in the context of Doctor Who doing a cheap knockoff, don't know any of those shows that's up to, I've heard of Love Island before. I thought that was a UK thing. I didn't understand that there was a US affiliate. But I guess the one thing that you can say about The Boys is it's the best performing Prime Video series that's going on right now. Is that the best that we can do? Is that the best we can tout at this point in time? Because now we have to talk about the writing, and we got to talk about episode 6, which is making more waves than anything else in this season so far. And for the fact that, well, how are you going to defend this as simply, oh, you don't like the show, or oh, you just think that the quality dropped off because it's making fun of you? No. Now you're just being hypocritical to even your own writing. Incredibly gross and tone deaf. The Boys faces backlash for controversial scene. Yeah, and I heard this reviewed, and it's like, oh my god, okay, this is maybe just confirmation bias as to why I didn't like The Boys to begin with, because I always thought it was just this over-the-top, overly sexual, overly violent. Okay, it's like, it's not my cup of tea. Okay, in real life, I'm not really somebody who likes any of that stuff, and anything that I really do, I'm kind of middle of the road when it comes to media taste, if we're being completely honest. Or maybe now it's The Boys is just skewed so far in one direction that making just simple comparisons that, hey, I like violence. I don't mind nudity in my media, and comparing and contrasting that to somebody trying to cut holes in somebody and stick their hog in them. I'm just maybe a little bit off-put by that. Just saying. So The Boys has never been a series to shy away from controversy, but some viewers think the show went too far with the latest episode. Making matters worse was a response of showrunner Eric Kripke had about the scene in question. 6th episode of The Boys Season 4, Hughie Campbell, who had long been the butt of several jokes throughout several of the seasons, as far as I'm aware, of course, introduced to the show, with A-Train running through his girlfriend, and it's like, okay, cool. Him having a pivotal character arc, okay, going against the 7, makes sense, right? But him coming around to this situation, I'm perplexed. Okay, goes undercover as a superhero for a recon mission, winding up in a parody of the Batcave that's much more sexualized because, cool, you got evil Superman and then you've got degenerate Batman. Really cool stuff you have over there, Kripke. There's a scene where he is assaulted by Ashley, okay, and Tek Knight, and after the experience, he shares with Annie how it made him feel violated. Following the episode's premiere, some viewers took to social media to condemn the scene, uncomfortable with the idea of using, yes, assault as comedy fodder. I would agree on that one because I will spare you guys the graphic details. Just long story short, their version of Batman, Tek Knight, has a Batcave that's basically a BDSM dungeon. He gets Hughie, who is dressing up as another superhero. He gets knocked out, put on a table, and he's moments away to have the degenerate Batman make surgical incisions in order for him to engage in romantic activities with, sans the romance, if you understand what I'm saying, but nobody understands the writing on this one because it's just absurd. The episode has also been getting further criticism from the press. This includes a Forbes article by Eric Kripke, which I had up before, but I think this serves as a good enough contrast that this is kind of widespread criticism, addresses how, yes, I was treated much more delicately earlier in the season when it happened to Annie and the Deep. Okay, it argued that depictions of SA, where the victims are male, should be treated with the same sensitivity. Additionally, Kane and others are taking exception with how Kripke called the scene hilarious in response to the controversy. But yeah, let's just go ahead and get to Eric Kripke's statements on this controversy. When asked by Jennifer Moss of Variety about why Hughie was written to be assaulted by his hero after the death of his father, Kripke said, "Well, that's a dark way to look at it. We view it as hilarious. Obviously, Tek Knight is our version of Batman, and we wanted to really play around with that trope. Batman's fascist underpinnings." Oh my god. Why isn't that bolded? Because that's just an equally stupid statement. Batman's fascist underpinnings. As a really wealthy dude who hunts poor people. Holy shit, is that reductionist if I've ever heard it before. Batman just simply goes after the Joker, or he goes after the well-connected Penguin who's known for his wealth and connections. Oh, okay, cool. But he just goes after poor people, right? That's what fascism is, you know, just knocking down the lower class people. Holy shit, man. And then profits off the incarceration. I'm sorry, what? Batman runs private prisons? Is that what you're also? Yo, man, you're reading some stuff that's obviously not in the source material, but okay. So that was one. Tek Knight was already set up to be a freak, so we were kind of already halfway there. Oh my god. Kripke added, and in the comics, there's a great storyline where Hughie goes undercover disguised as a superhero. That was a story that Jack had always asked for us to do, so part of it is always be careful what you ask your writers for. We were finally doing this with Webweaver character, and the idea of Spider-Man going down to be kink tickled in the Batcave is just too good to pass up. Yeah, I'm really glad that I never, ever got invested in this series, because if that's something that the showrunner is unironically saying that, yeah, this was all leading up to our version of Spider-Man getting kink tickled in the Batcave. I've wasted my time on games and other TV series that ultimately didn't end up really scratching the itch for what I was looking at that point in time, but I never would have thought my intelligence would have gotten insulted by this absolute child. I'm sorry. I couldn't leave that on the table. Kink tickled. I'm sorry. This wasn't kink. This was an entirely non-consensual, right? Kane's Forbes article noted in response to the fact that the show's creator views it as hilarious and then waves it off as some kind of a funny sex dungeon scene is more disturbing than the scene itself. Exactly. But like I said, this is incredibly hypocritical, the way that Eric Kripke wants to approach this scene, because, yeah, there you can see, you know, the ghost of Erin Moriarty that's over there. She's Starlight, or Annie, has been referred to previously in the articles. She also had a season 1 scene that involved, you know, SA at the hands of the Deep, very much at the hands of the Deep, obviously. As you can see, the boy showrunner stressed over Starlight's controversial season 1 scene, and his opinions and his statements. Are you going to see funny, hilarious, or this was just too good of an opportunity to not have a blue-eyed, blonde-haired girl get felt up? And even worse, you just couldn't leave that on the table? No. I wanted to get it right. I had a lot of conversations with a lot of women, some of which were very painful, and I did my absolute best to get the F out of the way. I just let them speak and not try to steer it one way or another, and then, ultimately, kind of, boil it down to Starlight's experience, both in that moment and in the aftermath of that moment. Then, when it came to the loop in Eric and then Chase, we went through that process all over again, because the actors actually have to live in it and play it. And so, I'll say this, I've never worked so hard or stressed so much about a scene in my life before or since, because if I got it wrong, it's not just that it would fail as a scene, it would be hurtful. And I felt that pressure and responsibility all throughout. But yeah, that just, once again, goes to show you, man, there's a two-tiered society right there, both in real life and in entertainment. And once again, this all just simply boils down to weak men, feminized men, being the bane of everyone's existence. Good job, Eric Kripke. You took one of the most popular and well-regarded series down a degenerate path, and now you're here, towards the end of your 4th and penultimate season. I'm really, really interested to see who's going to have their sensibilities assaulted, who's going to have their time mocked and ridiculed like that, and then turn out for a 5th season. Or for any of your planned spin-offs. Because Gen V, Gen 5, whatever, Mexican boys, wasn't that at the beginning of this year? Beginning of this year, end of last year. Oh, right, yeah. The fact that it's just so inconsequential that nobody references it, nobody talks about it anymore, just kind of lets you know that the future of your franchise, the future of your series, yeah, they aren't exactly long for this world. You had a very, very tight shot clock on your shock factor, on your prepubescent storytelling, and well, kind of looks like we're running low on that timer. Love to see how you're going to turn it around. Hope you do for the people that have invested time into this series, but for me, and from definitely peering into your comments, I wouldn't necessarily put any money on it. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.